Welcome to the Money Tips No One Told You podcast. I'm Heather with First Pioneers Federal Credit Union, and I'll be your host. At First Pioneers, we're dedicated to caring for our members' financial needs with heart, and that means providing more than just financial services. It's about empowering you to take control of your financial destiny through knowledge and understanding. This podcast is all about guiding our listeners toward a brighter financial future. So get ready to embark on a journey towards financial well-being, because at First Pioneers, we believe that when our members are financially successful, we all succeed. Stay tuned for a wealth of knowledge and inspiration. Okay, so the title of today's episode is 5 Money Ideas You've Never Heard Before. And I know what you're thinking, that in the podcast called Money Tips No One Told You, right? I know. But hear me out, okay? We're often talking about basics, right? We're talking about all those things that you need to know to be more financially prepared and successful. But today, my tips they're a little different. They're not just the quote unquote norm. So whether you're a seasoned saver or you're just starting out on your financial journey, today's episode is packed with fresh and actionable tips that you probably haven't heard before. Or maybe you have, but they're probably not the first things you think of when you're working on your financial plans. I mean, to me, these aren't just your run-of-the-mill money-saving strategies. They're a little more unique, maybe even a little unconventional, and hopefully they can help you think a little differently about your finances. So let's kick things off with a technique I like to call the invisible savings method. So how many of you feel like that saving money can be, well, let's be honest, a bit of a chore, but it's something that we all know that we should be doing, right? We all know that we should be saving, that we should be putting money aside, but that's often easier said than done, especially when it feels like every dollar that comes in is already accounted for. Well, this is where this technique comes in. It's a way to save money, but hopefully without feeling that pinch. Okay, so here's how it works. Set up a separate savings account. Now, preferably this is one that's not linked to your primary checking account. Okay, it's going to be completely separate because you want this account to be basically out of sight, out of mind. Then go and set up an automatic transfer of a small amount. And when I say small amount, we're talking like $2, $3, okay, really small. But you want to move that amount of money every day from your checking account to this savings account. The key here is that the amount should be small enough that you really won't even notice that it's gone from your daily budget. And now I know what you're thinking. $2 or $3 a day just doesn't sound like much money, but that's exactly the point. Because it's such a small amount, hopefully you won't feel like you're sacrificing anything. How many of you guys feel like that when you're putting money into a savings account? You feel like you're having a sacrifice. But this $2 or $3 over time, this invisible savings will start to add up in actually a pretty big way. Okay, so let's do some quick math. Let's look at it. If you save $3 a day, okay, for 7 days a week, multiply that, that's $21 a week. Multiply that times 52 weeks a year. That's $1,092 a year. And because it's automatic, you're not relying on willpower or discipline. It's just happening kind of in the background. How many things do we have sort of running in the background in our daily lives? So why not have this running in the background? And it's just quietly building up your savings. The beauty of this technique is really the simplicity of the whole thing. You're essentially tricking yourself into saving money because it's such a small yet consistent action. You're not likely to even miss the money in your day-to-day spending. But at the end of the year, you'll have a nice little chunk of change saved up that you didn't have to think twice about. It's like finding money you didn't know you had. Or, when winter comes around and you put on a coat that you haven't worn since last year, and you reach your hands in your pockets and you pull out a $20 bill that you forgot was in there. Okay, not exactly like that, but still, it's quite a lovely little surprise, don't you think? Okay, so next on our list is the buyer's remorse buffer. You know what I'm talking about. How many of us need to be saved from those pesky impulse purchases? Maybe try this buyer's remorse buffer. We've all been there, right? You're out shopping, or maybe you're browsing online, and you come across something that catches your eye. And before you know it, you've added it to your cart. I do that. I put it in the cart so that I can find it later, right? Or maybe you just went for it and you click the buy it now button. And that's it. Y'all, the money is gone. But then a few hours later, maybe a couple days later, you start to wonder, did I really need that after all? Or maybe you start feeling that guilt. Cue the buyer's remorse. So how can you avoid this? Well, here's our idea. For any non-essential purchase over a certain amount, let's say $50, wait 24 hours before you make the purchase and make that mandatory. Okay. And then while you're waiting, don't just sit and, fret over it and think about it the whole time. Instead, use this time to do some research. Look up reviews of the item. Compare prices. You may discover that thing that you desperately wanted and just had to have is actually half the price somewhere else. Or maybe even check and see if there's a sale that's coming up soon. But here's the twist that makes this technique truly powerful. While you're waiting, take a minute to revisit your financial goals. Okay. Is there a goal that you're saving for? Are you saving for a big vacation? You're saving for a new computer? Are you trying to pay down your debt so that you don't have to deal with those pesky credit card bills coming in all the time? Or maybe you need to build up your emergency fund. Here we're in hurricane season, something comes around, you've got to meet that deductible, or something happens around your house, and maybe your emergency fund isn't quite ready. So take a minute to remind yourself of your bigger financial picture. Okay, this may sort of put that impulse purchase into perspective. You may realize that it can wait. You may find that item isn't quite as essential as it had seemed in the heat of the moment. And here's something interesting. Many people report that after the 24-hour period, they no longer feel the urge to buy the item. The initial excitement, I call it look at the shiny thing, that sort of wears off, and they're able to walk away from the purchase without any regret. That's money saved, and that's buyer's remorse avoided. And at number 3 is the grocery bill game. So let's switch gears for a second and let's talk about grocery shopping. A necessary expense, to be sure, but one that can easily spiral out of control if you're not careful. And these days, even if you are, it can be quite a challenge, right? And I know we talk about clipping coupons and sticking to shopping lists and things like that. Those are all great things to do. But this is a bit more of a game, and maybe a way to make it a little more fun to shop, a bit of a strategy, a different way to look at these things, and a different way to sort of be mindful and budget friendly when you're shopping. Okay, so here's how it works. Before you head to the store, write down everything you plan to buy, so you're writing down your shopping list. And next to each item, estimate how much you think it will cost. Now, of course, you want to be as close as you can, and you want to base this on your knowledge of past prices, maybe the last time you went shopping, or maybe even take a quick look online and get an idea for what the price should be. The idea is to have a total budget of what this should cost before you ever set foot in the store. Then, as you shop, compare your estimated price to the actual price. Did you underestimate? Did you underestimate? And then keep a running tally of how close you are to your estimated total. Now, me being the OCD person that I am, I'm sure I would put pen to paper and, take my list and actually write beside it the actual price, because I would want to know and want to go do all the math. So the goal of this is actually twofold. First, it really forces you to be more mindful of prices, and that can help you make more informed decisions about what to buy. I've noticed that a lot lately. I know all of us have, that how many of the prices have changed on what we buy all the time. And I mean, we have staples in our house that I find every time we go to the store, there are certain things we buy every time. And those prices have just gone up exponentially. And I know there's times I've talked with my husband about something and he honestly never looked. Well, I knew I needed the thing, so I really didn't look at the price. I just bought it because I knew I needed it. And look, I know you guys know what I'm talking about, right? These prices are just insane. And maybe we don't always look for another option, but maybe we can look at a different brand or some kind of substitution if that price has really gone up. It may go so far as to change some ways that you eat at home, right? We have things that we tend to eat really often, okay? We like them and they're easy, and one example, ground beef has gone up so much here. A pound of ground beef, I remember when it used to be, $5, I think, just under $5, and now it's $8 for a pound of ground beef. Maybe a more cost-effective way, if you eat a lot of beef, maybe buy one of those 5-pound containers. And then, you can split that up and freeze it into separate little containers, and then you use it as you need it. Now, I realize that cost more for that initial purchase, but if it's cheaper per pound, it may actually save you money in the long run if you bought it that way. Now, of course, that's just an example, and there may be other things that you can adjust, but it's just something to consider. And the second thing about this technique is it does turn grocery shopping into a bit of a game, because now you have the challenge of, can you come home under the budget you set on your list before you left the house? And I find this technique is surprisingly effective at helping you sort of stick to that budget, because it truly does make you more aware of where your money's going. Like I said before with my husband, instead of just sort of tossing things into your cart, you're actively engaging with the prices and thinking about whether you really need each item. Like I said, we've had things we literally buy every time we've shopped, but as we've noticed the prices, I've really been more mindful of what I'm buying. And some things were just a habit, but another brand was just as good and it was cheaper. So I changed my habit. Or maybe you can't really do that without one thing that has had this price increase. Maybe it's something that, no, I really need that thing and I really need that brand, but the price has gone up. Well, then maybe look at something else on your list that you're not as concerned about the brand, and maybe you can adjust there and it kind of makes up for it. But it really is a great way to really notice the pricing and then kind of get creative about the way you shop. Plus, it can be fun to see how close you get to your estimated total. Dare I say, it might even inspire some healthy competition, especially if you shop with a partner or maybe a family member. I have some friends that would absolutely be in competition with their siblings when they do this. So think about trying this one out. It could be a lot of fun. Number 4 is the no spend challenge. This one can be fun, but I think it really lives up to the name challenge, right? Because it can really make you think too. Okay, so what is a no spend challenge? The strategy here is all about hitting that pause button on non-essential purchases for a set period of time. And when you really think about it, this can be a really powerful reset for your budget. But even bigger, it could be a mindset reset. So this is how it works. Choose a period of time. So it could be a day, it could be a weekend, it could be a week. If you're up for it, it could even be an entire month. You never know. So during this time you choose, you commit to not spending any money on non-essentials. So that means no eating out, no shopping for clothes, no impulse buys, no entertainment expenses. Entertainment would need to be free. And that's just to name a few. I mean, I frequently go get a Diet Coke. That's my caffeine for the day. Cups of coffee. All of those things, none of those are essential. Okay. And those are just a few. You would have to really look at you and your life to know what your essentials are. But the goal is to spend money only on those essentials. So what's an essential? Well, that's going to be your bills, obviously, groceries, and, necessary transportation, getting back and forth to work, things like that. And of course, things like medications. Don't want to leave those out. So those are the kinds of things that, basically, those are things you have to do. All right. Those are necessary. And the no spend challenge is not just about saving money during the challenge period. It's really about becoming more aware of your spending habits. So when you hit that pause on your usual spending, you start to notice how often you're tempted to make purchases, maybe just out of habit or boredom or emotional triggers, habits, convenience. How often are you at work and it's just, you've got a lot going on and you need to run out and buy lunch, and you end up maybe doing DoorDash because it's just easier and faster and it's raining. So those are the kind of things that are our habits that we really start to look at. So in a way, you can start to recalibrate your relationship with money and focus on what truly matters to you. A great tip to make this challenge more engaging is to turn it into a game or perhaps a personal project. For example, you could try cooking all your meals at home using the ingredients you already have. So what's in your pantry? What's in your freezer? That's what you have to work with. Or maybe you commit to finding free events in your community, and that's your entertainment. It's a great way to get to know your city too. Maybe you haven't really paid a lot of attention to what's going on in your town, but now you can. It's a great way to really learn things, maybe even meet new people as you learn, get different ideas from people about how to do things. Maybe it's actually just about coming up with creative ways to entertain yourself without spending money. Now, at the end of the challenge, you want to take a moment and reflect on your experience. You want to look at, what did you learn about your spending habits? How much money did you save? Did you find new ways to enjoy life without spending money? And how many things did you buy for convenience or for boredom? You might be surprised at the insights that you gain about yourself and the money that you save. And it could even inspire you to make longer term changes in your spending habits. So this no spend challenge is a great way to reset your budget, and it will definitely boost your savings. And like we said, you'll most likely gain a new perspective on your financial priorities. Plus, it's something you can tailor to fit your lifestyle. So you want to choose the time that's right for you to try it. But it's actually a really simple concept, but it can have some really powerful results. And if it just makes you too nervous, then maybe try one category at a time. So for instance, just do entertainment for 1 week, or do, food for 1 week where the essential that you're buying is groceries, and then it's the additional food that you do the no spend on. That kind of gets you used to it, lets you see how it's going to work, and then maybe do it again and add another category. Just kind of ease yourself into it if you need to. And last but certainly not least is the financial gratitude journal. And this blends money management with mindfulness. We talked before with the No Spend Challenge about how it's a very mindful thing and it can change your mindset about how you look at money. And this may sound a bit unconventional, but stick with me. This really is a powerful tool that can really shift your mindset around money. Now, here's how it works. Each week, I want you to set aside a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for in relation to your finances. And this could be anything, okay? It could be really simple. The ability to pay your bills on time. You're grateful for that. Maybe you received a little bonus at work, or you found a great deal on something that you really needed. That's something to be grateful for. Make note of that. The idea here is to focus on the positive aspects of your financial life rather than dwelling on the negatives or the what you wish you had. Now, why is this important? Well, because our mindset plays a huge role in how we manage money. It actually plays a huge role in our entire lives. And we've talked about this before too. We've actually talked about this in another episode. But it's so important in all aspects of our lives, really. When we focus on what a lot of people will refer to as scarcity, or what we don't have, what we're lacking, it can lead us to feelings of stress and anxiety, and that can really lead to making really poor financial decisions. But when we start to shift our focus to more abundance, and that's what we do have, what's going well, we're more likely to feel content and to make better choices and maybe even attract more opportunities. And sometimes, look, I am not going to deny this. Sometimes we may have to look hard. We may have to really analyze and really think about it to realize the positive things. And at first, it may feel like a small thing, but all wins are wins, okay? Anything positive is still a win. It's still a positive, and they all matter. Keeping a financial gratitude journal it's really a simple practice, but it can have a truly profound impact on how you view your finances. It helps you appreciate and celebrate even the smallest of wins, and it builds a positive relationship with money. And I know this may sound surprising, but it can even reduce your financial stress. Is when you're feeling more positive and you're seeing the positive instead of always just the negative, a shift will kind of start to happen, and you'll just start to feel lighter and feel better. Plus, what a great way to end the week on a positive note, reminding yourself of all the good things in your financial life. Okay, so before we go, I have 2 bonus tips today. The first one is the reverse budgeting method. And this one is a little different, so stick with me. But what it does is it basically kind of flips the traditional budgeting approach on its head. And if you've ever found that traditional budgeting is a bit restrictive or maybe a little difficult for you to stick with, this method might be something for you to try. Now, some people will refer to this as the pay yourself first method. So basically, you're emphasizing your savings goals before your other expenses. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose an amount that you want to save each month. And that can be your retirement savings. It can be a savings account, really whatever you choose. But you fund that first. So when you get your paycheck, you make sure that the money you're wanting to save goes into those chosen accounts first. Then you fund the rest of your budget. So for this method, basically saving is non-negotiable, and it's treated as a fixed expense every month, just like you would treat your rent or your mortgage. There's no negotiating it. This has to go into that account. Okay, that's the approach you have in this reverse. So let's say your savings goal is you want to save 20% of your income a month. what you would do is you would automate the transfer of that amount to your savings or investment account or whatever accounts you've chosen for it to go to. And like I said, that can be configured however you want it to be, retirement savings, whatever you decided. But you do this automation to ensure that those financial savings priorities are taken care of before anything else. The thought behind this reverse budgeting is that after setting aside your savings, then you handle your necessities, and now you can figure out the remaining money really however you like to handle it. You've paid yourself first, so it kind of takes that pressure off of savings in a way. And that idea is to keep you from focusing on tracking every little expense, trying to allocate funds to various categories like groceries, entertainment, dining out. Instead, you start with, this is how much I want to save or invest each month. And then you make the rest work with what's left, instead of trying to figure out, well, I want to make sure I have entertainment. I want to make sure I can buy clothes. I want to make sure I can do all these things. And then if I have any left, I'll save. It makes saving the priority. So it's in a way, it's simple, and it can actually be really powerful because it's prioritizing that savings and investing. And in some ways, then it gives you more flexibility in a way, if you look at it that way, with your discretionary spending, because now I've put my savings aside. I've done it. I've done the thing that I'm told to do. I've done that thing that I should do. And now I've paid my bills, and now I can take what's left. And maybe you feel a little freer about spending it, a little more flexible about spending it, because you're not worrying, well, have I left enough to put into savings? You've done that already, and you've paid your bills already. So now what's left is I can buy the clothes. I can go to the movie. I can do the thing. So that's why a lot of people feel like that this approach is really effective. It basically ensures that you're consistently working towards your financial goals because you've made the savings automatic. And like I said, many people feel like that this approach kind of reduces that some financial anxiety, because they feel like they're securing their future with that savings. So like I said, now they can kind of enjoy that money that is left over. They feel kind of guilt-free, and how many of us are feeling guilty about not saving all the time? So reverse budgeting, it could be particularly helpful if you're someone that struggles with a traditional budget, or if you just find yourself kind of constantly shifting money around these categories, trying to make everything work so that you can save. But if you focus on saving first, then like we said, you guarantee that your financial goals are being met, and then you can kind of relax about the rest. And the next one I want to bring up is an income diversification challenge. And I know we talk about budgeting and savings and all those things so often in the podcast, and just so often day to day in the credit union. But sometimes we forget about the other side of the equation, which is earning. And that's where this income diversification challenge comes in. And the truth is, this may not be for everyone, and it may take you a minute to kind of get used to doing this. So the concept of this is somewhat simple, actually, but it could make a big difference. So you want to challenge yourself to create at least one new income stream a year. And I don't mean start a full-fledged business. Okay, I'm not saying that. But think about ways that you can generate additional income. And they could be small. It could be a side hustle. We've talked about those, and those are great. Maybe look at some ways you could do that. But maybe you could also look outside the box a little bit. What about something completely different, like investing in a dividend-paying stock? Maybe that's something you never tried before. And that could be small. You can start out with $20, and invest it and let it grow from there. But maybe there's some other things too. Maybe you have a spare room you could rent out. I know there's some places, like especially big metro areas, maybe you have a parking space you could rent out. And we've talked about things like this. Maybe you have handmade crafts that you could sell online. There's so many things that you could do. But the idea is to gradually build multiple streams of income so that you're not relying on just that one source, which is most likely your primary job. And what this will do is not only provide financial security, but it also opens up new opportunities for savings and investments. Plus, with more income streams, you have more flexibility in how you manage your finances. For instance, you could dedicate your side hustle earnings entirely to paying off debt or saving for a specific goal. And we talked about earlier, maybe you're saving for vacation or a new computer, and maybe your side hustle goes solely to that so that you can meet that goal. Now, income diversification is a long-term strategy. It is, but it's one that can have a big impact on your financial health. And the best part, it's often easier than you think. Just start small. Try something. See if it works. And as you gain some confidence and some experience, then you can start looking for more opportunities to diversify. And then over time, you'll build a more solid financial foundation that can help you be a bit more resilient, maybe when you're faced with unexpected challenges. And there you have it, 5 unique money management tips with a couple of bonuses thrown in there. And I suspect there's some of those you've never heard before. And even if you have, they may not be ones that you really think about to use every day. These strategies are designed to help you think a little differently about your finances and hopefully make positive changes that can add up over time. So I hope you found these tips as inspiring as I did. If you try any of them out, I'd love to hear how they work for you. So feel free to share that with us on our social media channels. And of course, don't forget to share this episode with maybe friends and family who might also benefit from these ideas. That wraps up another episode of Money Tips No One Told You. We hope you enjoyed the insights and tips shared today. If you have any questions, thoughts, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us tailor future content to better serve you. There are several ways you can find us if you need further information or need to speak with a financial counselor. Visit us in person in Lafayette or New Iberia, Louisiana, or at firstpioneers.com to find out how to become a member of our family and find other financial information. Also, be sure and check out the show notes for important links and important information. Your financial journey is important to us, and we're here to support you every step of the way. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.